Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder aboard the Puma. And that is a wonderful battle rating 8.3 German rank 6 light tank in the tech tree, coming just after the Marder 1A3 and just before the TAM. And it also sits slap bang in the middle of the other two additions, being the premium Turm III at 8.0 and the stabilizer addition to the Begleitpanzer at 8.7 respectively. And I think that the Puma therefore is a nice addition, but not outstandingly necessary. And I think that while this tank is pretty good and it performs really well, it just doesn't have the punch of the Swedish 40mm Bofors boys and the adaptation capabilities to whatever enemy comes around the corner, like the BMP-2M, just saying. Just to give you a little bit of where to put this vehicle actually at a sober look at it. So the main feature of this tank is the 30mm MK32 AVM cannon with 400 rounds of total ammunition, and that is distributed amongst 4 belts with 100 rounds each. You also have some smoke launchers and an MG4 machine gun. And yeah, it's the gun handling and the rate of fire of this 30mm combined with the ammunition count and the diverse ammunition selection that you have that makes this thing work. But it's just missing that extra little bit of extra, I'd say. Now, let me talk you through the basics here. Let's start with the armor. It's not really thick, but on the side you have some really Trolly add-on armor that really plays around with heat FS, but most of the time you either get AP-HE'd or most commonly AP-FSDS'd. And against this, well, the tank's armor is not that great. However, then there is the survivability, and that is a bit Trolly because the ammunition sits only in the turret, but there is no crew. And so somebody can shoot the turret, ignite the ammunition, it burns off, but the crew takes no damage. So as long as you are hull down and people shoot you with AP-FSDS, regardless what AP-FSDS it is, you're not gonna take damage. An HE shell, hash round, etc., that will be the end of you, obviously. And that makes the tank a bit Trolly. Now also, just like with the Merkava, the engine and the transmission are both in the front, and that can also deal a little bit of a lull factor to both you and the enemy. Then there is the speed. Well, it is a top speed of 70 kilometers per hour forward and 30 kilometers per hour in reverse. You obviously have neutral steering. And then there is the mobility, and that is due to a 1088 horsepower strong engine for a 43-ton tank. Not that bad. For that size, actually, having roughly 25 horsepower per ton is not bad, and we actually go to places. It seems to have quite the acceleration. But again, let's talk about the gun handling. 10 degrees of gun depression, 45 degrees of gun elevation, just like the Begleitpanzer. Turret rotation speed is actually much better, and we are looking here at 60 degrees of gun traverse and gun elevation, which is really nice. And so you also have a reload rate formally of 0.3 seconds. So you can see that's not the end, because you also have some really high quality thermal imaging. It might be second, might be third generation. I'm not too much into it. But what's really outstandingly good for a normal tank, but actually not that good for this tank, is the zoom. It is pretty good on standard, but if you go full zoom in, it's way too good. You basically lose track of where you are if you are below 500 meters distance. Now, that lets you in theory snipe, but then the gun, or yeah, the shell accuracy ain't that good. It's decent for close combat, but it's actually not that great for sniping. You have quite the dispersion. And so to hit the weak spot at range, even though you have this great magnification and a quick and reliable long-range laser rangefinder, just gives you a little bit the strange feeling in the medium to short range. So yeah, that is basically the Puma. It's a nice addition, it performs really well, and then we have to talk about the ammunition, and that might be quite the interesting choice. So the stock belt is not pointless. 1 out of the 3 shells is an APDS round with up to 87mm of penetration. That's better than nothing, but not really outstanding. And the other 2 are HE shells, which might deal damage to helicopters. Then at rank 1, you have actually the MK266 or the PMC 308 as a choice. Both are HE shells, but both are vastly different. The MK266 is basically a normal HE shell, mass velocity 1080 meters per second, and the HE filler is 54 grams of TNT equivalent with 3 millimeters of penetration against any angle at any distance. Whereas then the PMC 308 is really interesting because it has 1100 meters per second mass velocity, and it's a high explosive incendiary tracer round with a time fuse. If it would be a proximity fuse, that would make the tank quite interesting versus helicopters, versus planes, and you can be a little bit of a different flavor compared to the Begleitpanzer, especially since the Begleitpanzer has now reduced HEVT capabilities in terms of ammunition capacity. So I'm not quite sure how useful that is, but it's the penetration that's interesting, because for an HE shell, 47mm at point blank range is quite something. However, it falls off. So is this a bit of a sap shell? I'm not quite sure. And you also have, according to the stat card, only 0.8 grams. I repeat, 0.8 grams of TNT equivalent bursting charge. That's not much. That's bad. And I never made it work. But the real killer is obviously the PMC 287 APFSDS round, and it's a full belt. Mass velocity 1405 meters per second, and at best you get 121 millimeters of penetration, but the post-penetration damage effect ain't that good, although at 60 degrees angles of attack formally you get at least 70 millimeters of penetration. The high rate of fire makes up for it. You have a significantly better sustained rate of fire and also ammunition support than, for example, the 40mm Swedish Bofors boys. And as an addition, you also get, as a rank 2 feature, a laser warning receiver, and that is quite nice. You have artillery support, you can scout, you can help allies to repair, and overall this package is really nice. There is nothing to complain about the tank. But in the crazy world of War Thunder, I don't know. I'd love to see HEVT on this tank, and then I'd be really happy, especially with my experience with helicopters, jets, and the likes. So that is the Puma for you. And do I recommend it? Well, if you have nothing else in other tech trees, sure, go for it. It's definitely not a bad pick. But is it overpowered? Is it crazy? Is it what gives you an auto insta win? I don't think so. And I think that the matchmaker will normalize itself sooner than later, because it's a nice tank, but it's a little bit overhyped, in my opinion. And that's just how I see it. You have seen the odd great gameplay, but I think it's a lot of good players picking off not so great players, because there's just so much to discover at this battle rating for Germany, as I said before. And what I really like about it, that you can also use it at higher battle ratings, because it is not really that dependent on battle rating. And yeah, basically that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, let me know what you want to see next, share this with your friends and clanmates, and as usual, we will see each other on the waves in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.